The night was cold and quiet in the small town where a little girl named Mila lived with her grandmother. The winter wind moved slowly between the houses and carried snow across the empty road. Mila's house stood near the edge of the town, old but warm, with a small porch and a light that often stayed on late. Mila was 9 years old and had a gentle heart that noticed things others often missed. Her grandmother worked long hours cleaning offices in the city and usually came home tired and silent. Mila spent many evenings alone, reading books or looking out the window while waiting for her grandmother to return. That night, the cold felt stronger than usual, and the snow fell thicker and heavier. Mila sat on the floor near the heater, drawing pictures on old paper. She liked drawing animals because they made her feel less lonely. As she finished one drawing, she heard a strange sound outside the house. It was soft and weak, like a cry carried by the wind. Mila stopped moving and listened carefully. The sound came again, closer this time, from near the back door. Mila stood up slowly and wrapped a scarf around her neck. She knew it was late and cold, but something inside her pushed her forward. She walked quietly to the back door and placed her hand on the handle. When she opened the door a little, cold air rushed inside and made her shiver. Snow blew in, touching the floor. Outside, near the steps, 2 dogs stood close together. One dog was brown and the other was black. Their fur was wet and covered with snow. Their bodies were thin, and they shook from the cold. Their eyes looked tired and scared, as if they had been walking for a long time with no place to rest. Mila felt her chest tighten when she saw them. She had never seen dogs look so weak before. She remembered her grandmother saying that animals should never be left outside in winter. Mila looked back inside the house and then at the dogs again. She knew her grandmother did not allow pets, but she also knew that leaving the dogs outside could be dangerous. Mila went inside and quickly brought an old blanket from the closet. She laid it on the floor near the heater. Then she returned to the door and gently waved her hand. She spoke softly, telling the dogs they could come inside. The dogs did not move at first. They stood still, watching her carefully. After a moment, the brown dog took a small step forward. The black dog followed slowly. Their paws touched the warm floor, leaving wet marks behind them. Mila closed the door and locked it to keep the cold out. She knelt beside the dogs and gently placed the blanket over them. The dogs curled up close to each other. Their shaking slowly became softer. Mila brought a bowl of water and warmed it slightly. She also found some bread and broke it into small pieces. The dogs ate slowly, as if they were unsure the food was real. Mila sat quietly beside them, watching them breathe. As time passed, the dogs relaxed and lay down near the heater. Mila felt a calm feeling in her heart. She had helped someone, even if they were not human. She stayed with them, listening to the sound of the wind outside and the gentle hum of the heater. Later that night, Mila heard the front door open. Her grandmother came home, tired and quiet as usual. She removed her coat and shoes and walked toward her room without turning on many lights. The dogs stayed silent and did not move. Mila held her breath, hoping her grandmother would not notice them yet. Her grandmother went to her room and closed the door. Mila finally relaxed. She knew she would have to explain everything later, but for now, the dogs were safe. She sat near them until her eyes felt heavy. Mila lay down on the couch with a blanket and kept her eyes open for a long time. She watched the dogs sleep peacefully. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the town and the roads. As the night grew deeper, Mila thought about where the dogs had come from. She wondered if they had owners or if they had been lost for days. She hoped someone was looking for them. Before falling asleep, Mila promised herself that she would protect the dogs until morning. She believed that kindness mattered, even when it was hard. The house stayed quiet, holding a small secret inside, while the snow hid everything outside. Morning light entered the small house slowly and touched the walls with a pale glow. Mila woke up on the couch and sat up quietly so she would not scare the dogs. The brown dog opened its eyes first and lifted its head slightly. The black dog followed and stretched its legs near the heater. Mila smiled when she saw they were still safe and warm. She stood up carefully and went to the kitchen. She warmed some water and placed it in a bowl. She found more bread and broke it into smaller pieces. When she returned, the dogs watched her closely but did not move away. She placed the food on the floor and stepped back. The dogs ate slowly and calmly. Their movements were gentle now, not rushed or scared. Mila sat on the floor and leaned against the wall. She felt proud but also a little nervous. She knew her grandmother would wake up soon. The sound of a car outside made Mila look toward the window. She saw lights moving through the snow. Then another car appeared behind it. Mila's heart began to beat faster. She stood up and moved closer to the window. Several police cars stopped near the house. Their lights reflected on the snow and walls. Mila felt confused and scared at the same time. She wondered if something bad had happened nearby. The dogs stood up and moved closer to her. A loud knock came from the front door. Mila froze and did not move. Another knock followed, firm but calm. Her grandmother's door opened slowly. She stepped out, rubbing her eyes and looking tired. Her grandmother asked who was at the door. Mila did not answer right away. The dog stayed quiet and pressed close to Mila's legs. The knock came again, louder this time. Her grandmother walked toward the door. When the door opened, cold air rushed inside. 2 police officers stood outside. They spoke politely and asked if they could come in. Her grandmother looked surprised but stepped aside. The officers entered and looked around carefully. Their eyes stopped when they saw the dogs. One officer raised his eyebrows in surprise. The other officer spoke into a small radio. Mila felt her throat tighten. She held her hands together tightly. The grandmother asked what was going on. One officer explained that 2 special dogs had gone missing during the night. He said the dogs were trained to help people during winter storms. The grandmother looked from the officers to the dogs. She then looked at Mila with confusion. Mila stepped forward slowly. She explained that she found the dogs outside in the cold. She said they were shaking and weak. She said she brought them inside so they would not freeze. Her voice was quiet but honest. The room became silent for a moment. The officers looked at each other. One officer smiled gently. He said Mila did the right thing. He said the dogs were very important and had been searched for all night. More police cars arrived outside the house. Neighbors began to step out of their homes. They watched from a distance, whispering to each other. Snow continued to fall softly around them. The small house became the center of attention. Another officer came inside and knelt near the dogs. He called them by name. Both dogs reacted at once. The brown dog wagged its tail slowly. The black dog walked toward the officer. The officers looked relieved. They explained that the dogs had broken free during a search mission. They said the weather became too strong and confusing. They said the dogs followed their training but lost their way. They said finding them alive was a great relief. Mila listened carefully. She felt happy that the dogs were safe. She also felt sad knowing they would leave. She had grown attached to them in one night. The dogs returned to Mila and sat beside her. Her grandmother placed a hand on Mila's shoulder. She finally understood what Mila had done. Her face softened with pride. She thanked the officers for explaining everything. She apologized for any trouble. The officers said there was no trouble at all. They said Mila showed great kindness and courage. One officer said many adults would not have acted so quickly. Mila felt her cheeks grow warm. She looked down at the floor shyly. Neighbors slowly relaxed when they heard the story. Some smiled and nodded. Others whispered words of praise. The tension outside faded slowly. The snow seemed quieter now. The officers prepared to leave with the dogs. They clipped gentle leads onto their collars. Before walking out, the dogs turned back. They walked to Mila and touched her hands with their noses. Mila knelt down and hugged them gently. Her eyes filled with tears but she did not cry. She whispered goodbye softly. The dogs stayed calm and trusting. They followed the officers outside into the snow. Mila watched from the doorway. As the police cars drove away, the lights disappeared into the distance. The neighbors returned to their homes. The street slowly became quiet again. Mila stood still for a long moment. Her grandmother closed the door gently. The house felt empty without the dogs. But Mila felt something new inside her. She felt stronger than before. She felt that her small choice mattered. The morning continued, carrying a story that the town would remember. The house stayed quiet after the police cars left, and the snow continued to fall softly outside. Mila stood near the door for a long moment and listened to the silence. Her grandmother walked slowly into the kitchen and sat down at the table. She looked tired but calm and thoughtful. Mila followed her and sat across from her quietly. For a while neither of them spoke. The heater made a soft sound as it warmed the room. Mila felt many emotions moving inside her chest. She felt proud of helping the dogs. She also felt sad because they were gone. Her grandmother finally spoke in a gentle voice. She asked Mila why she did not wake her during the night. Mila explained that she knew her grandmother was tired. She said she was afraid the dogs would be sent back into the cold. Her grandmother listened without interrupting. When Mila finished speaking, her grandmother nodded slowly. She said Mila had a kind heart and strong courage. She said not everyone notices suffering around them. She said Mila made a brave choice. Mila felt relief wash over her. Later that day, people from the neighborhood came by the house. Some brought warm bread and soup. Others brought small gifts and kind words. They told Mila they were proud of her. Mila felt shy but thankful. The story spread quickly through the town. People talked about the little girl who saved 2 dogs in the storm. They talked about how kindness can appear in small places. Mila listened from the corner of the room. She never expected so much attention. In the afternoon, a police officer returned alone. He knocked gently and waited patiently. Mila opened the door with her grandmother beside her. The officer smiled warmly when he saw Mila. He said he came to deliver something special. He handed Mila a small box wrapped in paper. Mila opened it slowly with careful hands. Inside was a badge and a folded letter. The badge was simple but shiny. Mila held it like it was something precious. The officer explained that the badge was a symbol of thanks. He said the dogs were healthy and resting well. He said the team was very grateful. Mila listened closely and nodded. Her eyes shined with quiet joy. After the officer left, Mila went to her room. She placed the badge on her small shelf. She unfolded the letter and read it slowly. The letter thanked her for her kindness and quick action. It said heroes are not always loud or strong. Mila sat on her bed and thought deeply. She remembered the way the dogs looked that night. She remembered their cold fur and tired eyes. She remembered how afraid they seemed at first. She smiled softly to herself. That evening her grandmother made a warm meal. They ate together at the table. The room felt warmer than usual. They talked about school and work. Life felt calm again. As night returned, Mila looked out the window once more. The snow had slowed and the street was quiet. She wondered where the dogs were sleeping now. She hoped they were safe and warm. She whispered a quiet wish for them. Before going to bed, Mila placed the letter beside her pillow. She felt peaceful and proud. She knew she did something right. She learned that one small choice can matter. Her eyes slowly closed as she rested. Days passed, and the story did not fade. People still greeted Mila kindly on the street. Some children at school asked her questions. Teachers praised her actions gently. Mila stayed humble and quiet. One afternoon Mila saw a police truck pass by. She watched it disappear down the road. She felt a small smile form on her face. She remembered the dogs once more. She felt connected to something bigger than herself. Her grandmother noticed a change in Mila. Mila walked with more confidence. She spoke with more courage. She listened more carefully to others. Kindness had strengthened her. As winter slowly moved toward spring, the snow began to melt. The town returned to its normal rhythm. But something had changed inside the people. They looked out for each other more often. Mila's story reminded them to care. One evening Mila helped an older neighbor carry groceries. Another day she shared her lunch with a classmate. Small actions became part of her daily life. She did not seek praise. She simply followed her heart. At night Mila sometimes dreamed of running dogs in the snow. She dreamed of warm lights and open doors. She dreamed of helping without fear. She woke up feeling hopeful. Her world felt brighter than before. The badge stayed on her shelf untouched. She did not wear it often. She knew its true meaning lived inside her. It reminded her of who she wanted to be. A person who chooses kindness. Spring arrived slowly in the small town, and the snow melted little by little. The roads became clear, and children returned to playing outside. Mila walked to school each morning with a lighter heart. She noticed birds returning to the trees. The world felt alive again. People in town still remembered what Mila had done. Some smiled at her as she passed. Others waved or spoke kind words. Mila always replied politely. She stayed humble and calm. One afternoon Mila returned home from school and found her grandmother waiting. Her grandmother looked thoughtful and happy. She told Mila that someone had called earlier. The call came from the police department. They wanted to invite Mila to a small town gathering. Mila felt nervous but curious. She asked what the gathering was for. Her grandmother explained it was a thank you event. The town wanted to honor kindness and courage. Mila agreed quietly. The day of the gathering arrived with clear skies. People gathered near the town hall. There were families, children, and elders together. Mila stood beside her grandmother, holding her hand. She felt small among the crowd. A police officer stepped forward and spoke kindly. He talked about community and caring for others. He shared the story of the winter night. He spoke of a child who acted with heart. Everyone listened closely. Mila felt her face grow warm as people looked at her. She did not feel scared though. She felt supported and safe. The officer invited Mila forward. She walked slowly and carefully. The officer thanked Mila once again. He spoke about how her actions saved lives. He said kindness spreads quietly but powerfully. The crowd clapped softly. Mila bowed her head shyly. After the gathering, people talked and shared food. Children played nearby. Mila felt normal again. She liked that feeling. She did not want to feel special forever. Later that evening Mila sat at home with her grandmother. They drank warm tea together. Her grandmother smiled gently. She said she was proud of Mila. Mila smiled back. Mila went to her room and looked at the badge again. She touched it softly. She thought about everything that happened. She thought about the cold night. She thought about the dogs. As weeks passed, Mila continued helping others. She helped classmates with schoolwork. She helped neighbors when she could. She listened when someone felt sad. Kindness became part of her daily life. One afternoon Mila heard a familiar sound outside. She looked out the window quickly. A police truck had stopped near the house. Two dogs jumped out happily. Mila recognized them at once. Her heart raced with joy. She ran outside with her grandmother behind her. The brown dog wagged its tail fast. The black dog barked softly. They ran toward Mila. The officer smiled and explained the visit. He said the dogs were passing through town. He wanted Mila to see them again. Mila knelt down and hugged them gently. Her eyes filled with happy tears. The dogs looked healthy and strong now. Their fur was clean and shiny. They stayed close to Mila. They remembered her kindness. Mila felt deeply grateful. After a short visit, the dogs left again. Mila waved until the truck disappeared. She felt complete inside. She knew their story together had meaning. She carried that feeling with her. That night Mila slept peacefully. She dreamed of warm houses and open doors. She dreamed of helping hands. She dreamed of hope. Her heart felt full. Time continued to move forward. Mila grew older and wiser. She never forgot that winter night. She never forgot the lesson it taught her. Kindness can change everything. The town slowly moved on, but the story stayed. People told it to their children. They shared it during cold winters. It reminded them to care. It reminded them to act. Mila grew into a young girl with confidence. She chose paths that helped others. She listened to her heart. She trusted her instincts. Her kindness guided her. Years later Mila would still smile at the memory. She knew it shaped who she became. She understood that courage does not need noise. It only needs action. And a warm open door.